Can go ahead, sir.
All right.
Thank you so much.
So Taiwo Alabi, a first-class graduate of the University of Lagos with a Bachelor of Science Education in Chemistry. She's an education officer at the Lagos State Teaching Service Commission, deeply committed to reshaping education in Nigeria. She is also a proud alumna of Teach for Nigeria, a non-profit organization dedicated to improving education equity in the country. Taiwo's passion is enhancing literacy among students in undeserved communities, and she's brought this to life with our EduCycle Club, making a significant impact in our school. Beyond that, she's established a resource center with books and computers, benefiting over 2,000 individuals. A true transformational leader, Taiwo Alabi is driven by a singular goal: to bring about positive change in any environment she encounters. Presently serving as a dedicated teacher at Ikorodu Junior Grammar School, situated in the low-income community of Ikorodu, Lagos, Nigeria. She exposes her students to a level of education akin to that received by students in more privileged schools. This is achieved through the adept use of appropriate teaching aids, technology, and pedagogical strategies tailored to cater for all types of learners in our classroom. However, our impact is not limited to classroom. She organizes mentorship programs to guide students and young individuals in choosing their career paths. A collaboration with the Beyond School initiative led her to mentor 700 final year students on life after school. Her dedication has earned her the Best Teacher of the Year award at her school, the Woman of the Month recognition from the Girls Gate initiative, and grant support from the Pollination Project for Community Initiative. Building strong relationships with our students allows her to identify and address their challenges. Our greatest joy is witnessing our students improve and teach their full potential. In Taiwo Alabi, we find a beacon of dedication, excellence, and transformation in education, and also community development. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, we welcome Taiwo Alabi to this call.
You're welcome. Thank you very much, Mr. Victor. I hope everyone can hear me.
Yes.
Good evening, everybody. So thank you very much for the opportunity. In the person of Mr. Abdulateef, maybe moderator, thank you once again, and every participant here. I'm honored to be here, and I'm so elated. I'm happy to be here, and I hope you have. So before I dive into the lesson properly, I would like to correct the undeserved. So my school is an underserved community. It's underserved, not undeserved. So it's deserved. So it's an underserved community in the low-income area in Lagos State, Nigeria. Ikorodu, to be precise. So I hope that is noted.
Yes, ma. Thank you, ma.
Thank you very much. So good evening once again, everybody. We're looking at student-centered classroom engagement and management strategies. Student-centered classroom engagement and management strategies. So please, I would like to ask Mr. Moderator, how many minutes do I have? Hello, Mr. Victor.
20 minutes, ma'am.
Okay, all right. Thank you. So we're looking at student-centered classroom engagement and management strategies. So before we dive into the lesson, I would like to ask, and please, I would like to urge everyone to be active because this time around, I'm going to be engaging you actively. So I will need your active participation, and I will need you to use the chat box. Then if you cannot type, probably you could unmute yourself and answer some of the questions I will be asking during the course of the training. So I would like to ask, when you hear the word student-centered, what's the first thing that comes to your mind? When you hear the word student-centered, what's the first thing that comes to your mind? So I'm already in the chat box. I would like to see your responses. When you hear the word student-centered, what comes to your mind? So I'm waiting for your responses in the chat box. Then you can unmute yourself too and answer the question.
When I hear the word, and my name is Alabi today, children-centered. What came to my mind is institution whereby the children are the focus of all what you do. When teaching, the knowledge I had is this: you don't make the children to be the one that will suffer in the teaching. Center, you make it in a way that to be interesting for them to grab, to understand. You prepare material for them at the level at which they were, because it's children-centered. It's not a lecturing issue. It's issue whereby you are putting the children in mind to grab and to get every bit of what you want to teach them.
Well, thank you very much for that. That's fantastic. So in short, what you're saying is that lesson focuses on the children. So that's brilliant. So I need another response. Let's take 2 responses before we proceed. So you can use the chat box or you will mute yourself to talk. When you hear the word student-centered, what comes to your mind? What's the first thing you think of? Students' participation. I can see that. That's beautiful. Students' participation. That's Mr. Abdulaziz. So can I take one more response before we proceed? Just to be sure, we all have a prior knowledge of what student-centered. Okay, paying attention to the children and prioritizing their needs first. Very brilliant. So all answers are correct. Everything is all correct. So student-centered. Now, before then, I'll be sharing my screen. I'd like to share my screen. Please hold on a minute, please. Please, Mr. Abdulatif, can you please allow me to share my screen? I have a restriction here. Mr. Abdulatif, kindly allow me to share my screen. Okay, thank you. Just a few seconds, please.
Yeah, the children. Yeah, the children. They're not with you. No. This thing you've been. If you need for
please mute your mic. Thank you.
Just 2 seconds, please. So sorry for the delay. Yes. So sorry for the delay one more time. So we're looking at student-centered classroom. Now, look at the image I just placed in front of you. So you are presented with 2 classrooms. There's an activity. So please, everybody pay attention. Are we all here? Let me know in the chat box if you are following. Yes, I've seen a lot of responses here on student-centered. So we have 2 classrooms. We're going to be making a comparison of those 2 classrooms. So we have classroom A and classroom B. So classroom A is Mr. Tony's class, while classroom B is Mrs. Abby's class. So I like to read along with me, just read inside. So classroom A, in classroom A, Mr. Tony is the main speaker using a textbook. Students primarily listen and take notes with minimal interaction. Assignments are about memorizing what Mr. Tony teaches. Now in classroom B, Mrs. Abby starts by asking students what interests them about the day's topic. She encourages them to discuss their ideas. She offers a variety of resources like books, articles, videos, and hands-on materials. Students learn through research, experiments, group discussions, or creative projects. Mrs. Abby guides, answers questions, and supports students as needed. Assignments and assessments reflect the diverse ways students learn the subjects. So I'll quickly move to the next slide. You have an activity. Let me know in the chat box if you have gone through that picture I just showed. Okay, following. Yes, ma'am. Very good. Now, moving to the next slide, we have an activity, and I would like every one of you to participate because we're trying to establish something very important here. So the question is, distinguish between classrooms A and B based on these factors. So you have 5 factors listed here, and you have to distinguish between classrooms A and B based on the 5 factors listed. The first one is role of the teacher. The second one is student engagement. The third one is student-teacher interaction. The fourth one is student-student interaction. And the last, kind of assessments and assignments given. Kind of assignments and assessments given. So let's look at the first one. Role of the teacher. So distinguish between classrooms A and B based on the role of the teacher. So what's the role of the teacher in classroom A? Tell me the role of the teacher in classroom B. So can I see that in the chat box? And you can unmute yourself. So can you tell me the role of the teacher in classroom A and the role of, looking at the picture, it speaks volume. So can you tell me what the teacher is like in classroom A and classroom B? So I'm waiting. So let me know who Mr. Tony is and Mrs. Abby. Yes, I'm seeing some responses already. So roles of teacher, that's Abdulatif Adedeji. Classroom A, lecturer and sage on the stage. Classroom B, facilitator. That's brilliant. So I need more responses. I need more responses. Classroom A, this is from Modupe Olaniyi. The teacher is an authoritarian. That's good. Classroom B, the teacher is democratic. That's interesting. So I need more responses, please. I need diverse responses so we can establish something very meaningful here. The role of teacher in classroom A and the role of teacher in classroom B. So I've seen the response from Abdulatif Adedeji, Modupe Olaniyi. So I need more responses. I believe we're already working on it. I'm waiting. I'm waiting for your response. You can unmute yourself and talk if you don't want to type. Probably it's not really easy for you to type at this time. So you can unmute yourself. Let me hear you. What role is teacher playing in classroom A? And what role is the teacher playing in classroom B? Somebody said authoritarian, classroom A, and classroom B, democratic. Okay. Or you want me to call your names? Probably I should start calling names, Abby. Maybe that will be fine. I can call names. We're in the classroom. So student engagement. Okay, we're not on student engagement yet. Role of the teacher. So classroom A is kind of tense, but more friendly in classroom B. Very good. So we can move on. So let's go to the next one. Student engagement. Student engagement. So how well are the students engaged in classroom A compared to classroom B? So let's see the level of engagement in classroom A and the level of engagement in classroom B. Are the students engaged at all in classroom A? Looking at them. In classroom B, are they engaged at all? Look at the pictures very well. So let's compare the engagement level of the students in both classes. Oh, someone said classroom A, teacher is just a custodian of knowledge. He knows it all. Classroom A, the teacher takes charge of the class alone without giving the students option or advantage alone, maybe by just explaining alone. Classroom B is both teacher and student participation in class and lesson going on. That's brilliant. So student engagement, I'm still expecting more responses in both classes. So I need one more response, then we'll forge ahead. Student engagement, what's the engagement level like in classroom A and engagement level in classroom B? One more response, we proceed. Yes, Modupe Ola says learners in A are truly passive, but in B, there's collaboration. So the collaborative class for B and A, the learners are passive. That is, they're quiet, they're not active. Very good. So quickly, let's move to the third one, student-teacher interaction. What's the interaction between the teacher and the student like? Are they interacting? Or is just the teacher talking or students talking alone? Or there is a two-way interaction between the two among the teacher and the students? So let's check classroom A and classroom B. What's the interaction of students and teachers like in both classes? I'm expecting your responses. So look at classroom A. Are the students and teacher interacting anyway? Look at classroom B. Let's see the interaction. How it's going. So I'm waiting. Yes, in classroom A, there is no connection between the teacher and the students, while in classroom B, there is connection between the teacher and the students. Vivid connection. So another person, classroom A is a no-no, red line. Classroom B, excellent, 100/100. That's good. Classroom A, no real interaction, just listening as if they are listening to a radio. Classroom B, there is individual participation. That's beautiful. Now, the next one, student-student interaction. In this kind of classroom, assuming you are there, assuming you are present there in real life, what kind of interaction do you think will be happening among the students? For classroom A, do you think there will be any form of discussion, interaction, or probably doing something together, looking at how the students are seated? And look at classroom B. If you were to be there, what would you say about the class? Do you think those children will be doing something together, talking with each other, discussing on a particular concept, or trying to arrive at a conclusion? So what do you think is happening based on student-student interaction in classroom A and B? So I'm waiting for your responses. Please, I need other participants to talk. Yes, saying the Alabi, classroom A. Okay, another one, Victoria Shegun. So I'll read all. So I'm still waiting for more responses. Waiting for more responses. We're looking at student-student interaction in both classes. How well are they relating? Is there any likelihood that classroom A will relate? What about classroom B? Is there any likelihood that they're going to talk to each other, discuss, or arrive at something together, or try to solve a problem together? So let's see. Okay, I think we have response. The students are not interacting with anything, both themselves and their environment. That's Victoria Shegun. And their environment in classroom A, the students are well engaged, interactive, and learning in classroom B. Okay, in classroom A, students are not interacting with anything, even with themselves and the environment. While classroom B, the students are well engaged, and there's interaction in the classroom. So that's brilliant. Now the last one, kind of assessments and assignments given. What kind of assignments do you think students in classroom A will get or will be given? And what kind of assessments, probably test, examination, or classworks, do you think they will be given? Then for children in classroom B, what kind of assignments, what kind of test questions, what kind of assessments of any sort, probably classwork or a mini test, do you think they'll be given in that kind of class? So let me see how the questions will look like. You can even give me an example so that I will understand your points very well. So you can give me as an example of the kind of questions to expect in classroom A and the kind of questions to expect in classroom B. So I'm waiting. I need 2 responses at least. Classroom A, continuous assessment, assignment and CA in classroom. Continuous assessment, assignment and CA in the classroom. Very good. What about classroom B? The students in classroom A will only be respected or expected to do rote learning. Oh, classroom A, rote learning, that's memorization. Just be cramming, putting contents in their heads. That's deep. So I'm expecting more responses. Classroom A, classroom B, what kind of assignments and assessments? Classroom B will do more of hands-on activities. They will work with their hands. They will explore. Okay. One more person, then we'll move on. Classroom A, I can see something here. Classroom A, NGMPG20. Okay. Exercise page exercise 1 to 10. Okay. Classroom B, group project, research, and so on. Classroom B, that's for Victoria Shegun, Modupe Olani. Questions and answers will allow brain sprouting and brainstorming. That's beautiful. Creative and more of collaboration. Then assessment, that's for Abdulatif Adedeji. In classroom A, we likely focus on the ability to recall, just remembering, as if you are recalling a story. While B will focus more on other eye thinking skills. So we have all done well. So let's give ourselves a round of applause. You can just use emoji or a thumbs up. A round of applause. All of us have tried. We have all tried. Brilliant responses. So it shows that we are actually following. So moving on to the next slide. So kudos to everyone. Moving on to the next slide. The last question I'll be asking you, which of the classrooms do you think is student-centered? So look at classroom A, look at classroom B. Which of them is student-centered to you? You know, we have all spoken our minds, we have shared our ideas on what student-centered means to us. So now let's come to the classroom. Classroom A and B, which of those classrooms do you think is student-centered? So these are more classroom B, student-centered. Classroom B, as for Aminat Lawal, B. Aminat Lawal is saying classroom B is student-centered. Okay. Classroom B is student-centered. More responses. I'm waiting. Classroom B is a typical example of a student-centered classroom. That's for Kehinde Alabi. Waiting. Our participants. Let me receive more responses. Victoria Shegun Modupeola, where are you? Yes, classroom B. This is from Victoria Shegun. Classroom B. Modupeola. B, of course. I like that confidence. I love that. So quickly, I would like someone to boldly tell me why you are saying classroom B. Classroom B is the student-centered classroom. Oh, classroom B and teacher current classroom. I love that. Thank you, Mr. Abdulatif. So somebody should just tell me in a simple sentence why you think classroom B is student-centered and not classroom A. So you could be correct if you say classroom A and you're able to prove your answer right. Of course, we agree with you based on your answers. So let's see if we're actually correct choosing classroom B as a student-centered classroom. The image shows active involvement of students in the learning. Very good. I mean, wow, that's good. So which means that the students are actively involved. They are doing something. They're not just sitting and looking. while classroom B is really engaging, classroom A is not. Even from the smiles of those children, from their gesticulations, it shows that they're active. They're not just sitting. Through hand raising, yes, through hand raising. Classroom B, because students are well involved in the learning activities. Brilliant responses. That's intelligent. I love that. So can you give yourself a cheer, thumbs up, clap? You've all tried. So we've established the fact that, so moving on, we have established the fact that classroom A is not in any way student-centered. Even looking at those children, they don't even look happy. They're not looking active. They're not looking, their morale is not high. Their morale is very, very low, like we usually see. But look at those children in classroom B, see their excitement. In fact, I'm very sure they'll be happy coming to school. The teacher in classroom A looks more like an expert, while the teacher in classroom B looks more like a facilitator, somebody just guiding them. The students' engagement, based on what we have talked about, what we have all contributed, students' engagement in classroom A is on the low side, while for classroom B is on the very high side. While the student-teacher interaction for classroom A, the students and teachers, they're not really interacting. The students are just looking. While the teacher is busy stressing himself, talking and talking and talking. The students are busy resting, and I'm sure some of them are hungry. They're already hungry and feel like standing up and going out to move about. While for those in classroom B, the students are active, teacher too is active. And I'm very sure that those children are even doing more than the teacher in this kind of classroom. For the student-student interaction in classroom A, I'm not seeing anyone talking. Nobody is doing any activity together. Nobody is discussing. Nobody is sharing any idea. While for classroom B, I'm very sure if I'm in that classroom, in fact, it will be a different tone. You can see this little boy, the first boy we are seeing, looking at the face of that girl. You can see there's interaction, eye contact, there's discussion, most likely. Then the kind of assignments and assessments given based on what we have established here for the classrooms A, rote learning. They only have to download what the teachers, what is, they just, the Google or check their textbook, download, no thinking, no time to research anything. While for those in the other classrooms, they are going to be thinking outside the box. They're going to be doing even beyond what they were taught in the classroom. They're going to be practicalizing something, working outside their comfort zone based on the kind of classroom we are seeing here. Now, moving on to our next slide. So I've established the fact that classroom B is student-centered. So that's very good. Now, we're looking at engagement strategies. The engagement. When you say engaging, we have already defined it, looking at our responses. That's talking about active participation of children or students in the class, engagement. So how do you engage your students in the real sense? You want to have a student-centered classroom. What realistic way are we looking at to engage our students? So we have numerous ways. We could mention 1001 ways, but I'll just pick few because of our time. Then we could go and research when we get to our closets. So number one, stop being the experts. You can see that classroom A teacher is the expert. He knows it all. He has all the knowledge, and so he's coming with all the knowledge he has carried 100% and start downloading and bombarding the students with everything they have studied. And the students just be like, this is our auntie. She's just too intelligent. But they themselves, they don't have any opportunity to explore. So stop being the experts. Don't show yourself as I too know. Then number two is let your students explore. Let them work. Let them do something with their hands. We have different kind of students in the classroom. Some don't like, somebody like me, sitting down in a particular place for a very long time gives me a headache. But I'm very sure there are students like that too in your classroom. So let them explore. How do they explore? Let them do projects, hands-on activities. Give them something to work with their hands, to work with using their hands. For example, I remember a time I taught the topic in home economics. So you can imagine home economics, we're incorporating art too. So home economics, I taught a topic called family house. And ordinarily, I would have just taught the topic like every other person, but I decided to engage those students using their hands, especially those that are very talented in artwork. There are some of them that they're not so brilliant, like we used to say, but when it comes to drawing, they are very good artists. So I asked them to draw in the class and I asked them to draw a family house and identify different rooms we can find in the family house, just a sketch. So I saw a lot of beautiful drawings. Even the so-called intelligent ones didn't have drawings that can be compared in terms of beauty, in terms of the structure, to those we see as they are on the average. And I also remember that I asked them to use waste carton papers to build houses. And you could see this really sparked off a lot of creativity in those children. So you incorporate practicals, field work, take them outside. So they like playing outside, take them outside. You are teaching PHE, take them outside for sports. You are teaching agric, you are teaching planting, crop planting. And you are planting in the class. I don't take them outside. Let them do the practicals. Let them see for themselves. Now, outdoor activities, I've already mentioned that. So engage your students as much as possible. Let them explore. The other thing is connect learning to real life situations. I'll give you different scenarios. Now, you want to teach money, probably in economics or mathematics, and you are bringing to the class $1, $10, $100, pounds. They are bringing it to the class, especially those that are teaching in underserved communities. Most of those children have not seen dollars before. Probably they have heard of dollars, but they have not set their eyes on dollars before. They don't know what dollar is. They only know, okay, probably you're using dollar in a particular country. Why don't you use something they can relate with? Bring 10 naira to the class, bring 20 naira, bring 15 naira, 100 naira, 1,000 naira. Something they can relate with, something they have seen before, they have come in contact with. Another thing is that when you're using examples in the class, connect those examples to real life situations. Don't just talk abstractly. Let it be something they have seen or they can relate with, probably something that is happening in their house. For example, you want to teach conflict and you're just defining conflict. Why don't you ask them, when last did you fight? Who did you fight with? Why did you fight? Or your parents, probably you are discussing family conflict. Your parents, have you seen them fighting before? What do you think must have caused it? So let them have a relatable example, something that has happened to them or they have seen or experienced. Another thing is assign group tasks. So let your students work in group. You can see those pictures that I displayed. They are my students. You can see the last picture, that is number 6, the 6th one. You see them trying to plant something. Then I was teaching agricultural science. They tried to plant maize. They are doing it by themselves. I was just there using the camera and they were doing the whole thing. Now, for the number 4, I labeled it group 4. These are students working in groups. They're trying to create something, trying to craft something. So let them work in group, assign group tasks to them. You could even bring them out in groups. Oh yeah, come and do presentation. Do presentation in class. So incorporate presentations. You can see that first picture, students holding cardboards. They are representatives of their groups coming to present on a particular topic. So with this, the students will be happy seeing their peers coming in front of them to talk. You see them laughing, making jest. Yes, it's fun. It's part of learning. They are tired of looking at your face in front all the time. Let them also come to the front. If you are doing this, you're also helping them become bold. Especially those students that are very shy, you're helping them to crawl out of their shells. And by the time they perform well, you see that they'll be proud of themselves. So I can even talk in public like this. So you are developing them one way or the other. Another one is that you use audio and visual aids. So we have different kinds of learners in the classroom. We have the tactile learners, we have the kinesthetic, and we have the visual and the auditory learners that we explain. The auditory learners, they like to hear something, play something they hear. They grab more. The visual learners, show them a picture. You can see me in the second picture holding something. Show them, let them see for themselves. Don't just talk virtually. So let them see what you are saying or what they are doing in the class. We have the kinesthetic. Those ones, they like moving. They like, you can tell them to move from a corner of the class to another corner of the class. I've seen students like that. When they sit down for 5 minutes like this, the bomb is already reaching them. They want to stand up from one point to the other. For those kind of children, don't see them as distractors or students that are very stubborn, they'll keep disturbing. No. Understand the fact that they don't like sitting for too long. So do something that will enable them stand up at one time or the other, at intervals, periodically. Move to a particular point. Probably you create a group, or you're going to join this group. Let them just move. So I've already explained the last one. Get your students moving in this one. Then for the visual learners, okay, I've spoken about that. Let them see what you are saying. And I've mentioned auditory learners, kinesthetic, the tactile learners, they want to work with their hands. They want to draw. They want to make something with cardboard. They want to make something with carton. They want to make something out of leaf. They want to plant something. Let them do it. You can see those children in the fifth picture. They did a vision board. That's the way of engaging them. So we learn something during that activity. So it makes them happy, makes them feel among. They're not just the one doing everything. In fact, you as a teacher, you have rest. It's one of the ways I manage stress as a person. So when you are the one doing all the talking, all the activity, you are the only one doing it, you get stressed up. And at the end of the day, when you get home, you don't want to do anything again because you are completely tired. So let your students be engaged while you oversee whatever they are doing. Get their responses. Their responses are correct. Even if it's not so correct, modify those responses. Make them look presentable. Like I used to tell my students, if you say something, I will touch it up and make it look palatable, make it look presentable. So that's the way we go about engaging our students in the classroom. So I hope we got that. So moving on to the next slide. So we're almost rounding up. We're looking at management strategies, management. Now, as much as we want our students to be engaged, you know, in a very popular class, like the one I teach over 100 students, to be sincere. So in a densely populated class, management may really be an issue. It could be challenging, but there are some simple ways these simple things can guide us to know how to manage the high population. Even the so-called small population, probably you have 10 pupils in a classroom or 20 or even 5. In fact, at times when they bring out their behavior, when they start showing themselves, there are more than even those that are up to 50 in the class. So as much as you want them to be engaged, you want them to move, you want them to do something with their hands, you want them to present, you want them to do a lot of stuff in the class. It could be very difficult if you don't know how to control them, put them under your control. So these are simple steps to manage your classroom. 1, have a plan. That's the essence of our lesson plan. Although it's not easy writing a lesson plan, even if you are not writing a lesson plan, you should have something, you should have a book or a place, probably your notepad or your phone or somewhere where you plan your lessons. Have a strategic planning. And when you are planning, you know, there's a saying that when you don't plan very well, you end up failing, something like that. So have a plan. And when you are planning, please take into cognizance your learners. Don't just plan as if you are the only one in the classroom. Bring your learners into the picture. Try to identify their areas of need. Know them very well. Know the strategies they like to work with. Know what works for them. You know, you can't children in classroom A may not be able to learn the way children in classroom B are because they are composed of different individuals from different backgrounds, different ethnic groups, different environments. So you need to understand them, know what works for them. And whatever learning strategy or teaching strategy you're using should be tailored to the specific need of those learners. The another one is set learning expectations. Yes, it's usually a practice in my class, and I will encourage you to also do it. Before you do anything, let the students know the expectations for the day. You can carve a corner of your board and write the objectives. You call it objective commonly. So call it objective. You write the objectives on the board, at least 3. Let them know what they are expected to learn at the end of the lesson. You know why? When, as much as they are doing those activities, when they are being engaged, you know, they are carried away, it helps to shift their attention back to what we really expect them to learn. Out of those numerous activities, you know, you have a lot of things you are doing, but since they already have a point of focus, you direct their focus back to what they really want to learn. So their mind will be there. Okay, you want us to learn the meaning of this. You want us to learn how this is applicable. So their mind is being shifted there, so that when you are trying to assess them, they already have a glimpse of what is to be learned in the class. Now, have a mastery of your subject matter. You need to be a master. If you don't, if you don't know what you are teaching, you will fumble. I'm sorry to use that word, but that's the reality. You must know what you are teaching. You must have a mastery. There's nothing like, I do not have time to prepare, so I'll just go to class and go and you have good students in your class, people that can challenge you. So don't wait for that challenge, and don't wait for them to mess up your efforts. So have a mastery of your subject matter, of your subject. Have a good mastery. So study. Don't take them for children. Don't see them as children that they don't know anything. They know more than you. So have a mastery of your subject matter. Then limit your talking time. Don't talk too much in the class. You're only stressing yourself up and you are making those students bored. So limit your talking time. Let them do the talking. Like we did at the beginning of the class. So let them do the talking. At the end of the day, after you've collected their responses, modify it, do a summary. Then the class ends. You can even tell them to construct their notes. It's not a bad idea. Based on what you've discussed in class, in their own word, in their own language, let them write their notes themselves. So that when they are reading, because they are the ones that wrote it, they understand it better than trying to cram or memorize whatever you have dished out to them in your notes. So be calm. That's the next thing. Those children, it's inevitable, they are disruptive at times. They could embarrass you, they could be annoying. Probably you're having afternoon class in a densely populated school, afternoon class, those students are not settled again. Their mind is somewhere else. They are tired, they are hungry, they are feeling sleepy. So they could annoy you. Just be calm, be matured. Show them that you are matured. So even when they do some things that are very funny or very annoying, just take your time. Be calm. In a little while, you get over it. So in this way, you are trying to model a good behavior to them. They will say, as much as we are so disruptive, see the way our teacher is looking at us. It's not even. So you are teaching them something good. You are modeling a good behavior to them. So it's not, I'm not saying you should not take control of your class, but at the same time, don't be too emotional, don't flare up, don't bring your problems to the class and be passing aggression on those kids. Now, another thing is reward more. I used to emphasize this. So make sure you reward more than you punish. Punishment, consequences are good. I don't like calling it punishment. Consequences are good, but at the same time, learn to reward more. You know, you tend to pronounce what you really want from those students more than trying to punish them. You know, some of those students, they don't care about life. They don't care. So if yours is about caning or punishment, is it it's not more than cane. So press up law. It's not more than that. So try as much as possible to reward more. And rewarding does not really have to be you buying something for them. You could use you could have a corner in your class, probably a cardboard, just to improvise or something better. Then whoever participates very actively in the class that day or does something very spectacular, you just paste their names there, or you ask them to sign, put their autograph, let them sign. Or you could get probably a brunch. I had one. I used to have one with the inscription. I made my teacher proud, a brunch. So any student that does something that is impressive in the class, just put it on their uniform. They carry it for a whole day or for a whole week, depending on your discretion. So reward more, do more rewards. Or you give them special seats in front, or you make them probably your assistants. So these are different ways you can reward your students. So emphasize reward more than consequences of punishment. Now, the last one, improve on yourself, is very necessary for you to improve on yourself. So the way you carry yourself is the way your students will carry you. You carry yourself in a very low way, they will also rate you that way. So in terms of confidence, learn to be confident. I know some of us are probably introverts. We don't like to talk too loud. We don't like to lagbaja, like the Yorubas would say. So we need to develop confidence. If you are timid, if you are weak as a teacher, your students will take an advantage of you. You will take it for granted. And secondly, improve on your communication skills. Learn how to talk very well. Be eloquent. Be eloquent. Don't think twice before you know what to say. Know what you want to say. Improve on your English speaking. Be eloquent. So another thing is dressing. Improve on your dressing. Don't just dress shabby to your class. Don't dress anyhow. It's saying that dress the way you want to be addressed. So let your students see a teacher that looks like a banker. Even if you are wearing native, you still dress in a very nice way. Don't let them start complaining. Or they start describing you in this way. Say you know that auntie that used to wear palm all the time. You know that auntie, always wearing maternity gown. So try as much as possible to have a very good sense of dressing. So dress well. With this, you're also modeling a good behavior to your students. They will also copy you. Yes, students notice. When you are doing something wrong, they will tell you. They'll actually bring your attention to it. Or they talk about it in their midst. And a bold student will be the one to now confront you with that. So with this, you have been able to explain the student-centered classroom as a very engaging classroom. That's one word for it, engaging. Yes, I've been able to explain the student-centered classroom. We've made a comparison between classroom A and classroom B. We said classroom A, looking at those children, is not student-centered, it's teacher-centered, where classroom B is student-centered. And we look at the roles of the teacher, student engagement, and the like. So we're able to establish the fact that classroom B is student-centered. And engagement strategies, we're able to look at the engagement strategies, different ways to ensure that our learners are actively involved in the learning process. And lastly, management strategies. As much as we want them to be highly engaged, we should also learn to control our classes so that the purpose of that engagement will not be forfeited, or it will not amount to nothing. So with this, I'll come to the end of the class. But before then, in conclusion, I would like to mention that, okay, add to it, that the kind of questions you ask your students should be the one that provokes their thoughts. So ask thought-provoking questions. I'll give you an example. So I omitted that under engagement strategies. Sorry about that. So ask thought-provoking questions. That's the second to the last. Let me give you an example. So Tolu, listen to this question, everybody. Tolulope experiences constipation. So I'm trying to teach food nutrients in home economics, even basic science too. So Tolulope experiences constipation often. As a dietitian, what nutrient do you think is lacking? More so, what 3 foods will you suggest he includes in his diet to help improve his condition? I could have as well asked the same question in different ways and say, okay, name 3 examples of foods that contain water, number 1. Then number 2, mention 1 function of water in the body. So before I conclude, before I close up, can somebody just make a comment on those 2 kind of questions? Name 3 examples of foods that, just put it in chat box or use the mic. Name 3 examples of foods that contain water, number 1. Number 2, mention 1 function of water in the body. Then the other question, Tolulope experiences constipation often. As a dietitian, what nutrient do you think is lacking? Also, what 3 foods do you suggest to include in his diet to help improve his condition? So what can you say about those 2 questions? So I'm listening. So I'm expecting your response.
5, 6 people.
So what do you think of those 2 kind of questions I just asked? They are different questions, but I've asked them in different ways. So what do you think of question, the first one I mentioned and the other one? So I believe we're all typing or trying to brainstorm. Okay. Wow. The second, thought-provoking, makes them think and question themselves like a dietitian trying to find solution. Yes, they are seeing themselves like a dietitian. They are bringing themselves into the picture. They are trying to think more. Is that person talking entirely on kindly mute your mic, please. Thank you. So, thought-provoking. So when I do this, we are helping them develop. Yes, we are helping them develop ability to think outside the box. Why the first question is too straightforward, it doesn't make them inquire further. Very good. That's straightforward. No time to check time. As you're encouraging not learning, you're encouraging memorization. In fact, you're not even helping them. Other kind of questions are too straightforward, doesn't make them think, and at the same time, they don't really learn easily. Even as much as they try to cram, they still forget. For the other, what did you say? Then the other one, the other one that is thought-provoking, it enables them to learn easily. So they don't even need to cram anything. They don't need to read any material. It's a normal thing they experience in life. So it just helps them to, okay, if it happens to me, this is what will happen. This is what I will do. This is what I will suggest. So they are bringing themselves into the future. It makes it more realistic and makes it easier for them to learn than them just trying to regurgitate what you have taught them or trying to cram. It's okay. What is home economics? Home economics is no. So we should try as much as possible to engage our students with our questions. The first question only favors the brilliant students. That's for Kendi Alabi. That's very good. Only the brilliant students that know how to cram. Somebody like me, I can cram for Africa. In that kind of situation, I'll be able to answer. But when after that class or after exam, I forget because it's never applicable. It's not something I can apply. And don't forget, whatever you are teaching your students, always teach them ways they can apply it in real life. For example, you are teaching subtraction. Give them practical examples. Okay, somebody comes to your mommy's shop and gave you this kind of money, brought 100 naira and bought something worth 15 naira. How much balance have you changed? Use their language to the person collect. Let them be able to apply it. You are teaching motion. How does it relate to them? They have fans at home. Connect them with the fan they have at home. Their daddy has Dampo. For those for those in the other side community, that's the commercial bus. Let's not even look at the exotic cars. Daddy has commercial bus or a car that has tire. Let them connect with that. Those things are rotating. So connect them to what they already have a prior knowledge of. So with this, I would like to conclude that engaging your students actively in the classroom helps them to develop 21st century skills. One, leadership. Through collaboration. When they work in group, you have group leaders that are leading. They are learning how to lead. They are collaborating. They are learning how to work in a team. So it's preparing them not just for now, but for the future. When they get to the workspace, where they have to work with a group of people, they don't find it difficult. You are instilling communication skills, helping them improve on their communication skills, bringing them in front of the class, come and talk, or asking them questions. They are gaining boldness. They can talk, express themselves better. Problem solving, you give them projects to carry out. They are trying to solve a problem. You're helping them develop problem solving skills. Growth mindset, they say something today is not so correct. You corrected them in love or try to shape their responses. The next time they improve from 0 to 1/10 to 2/10 to get 10/10. So it instills in them growth mindset. It makes them know that, okay, I've not really done this well. I can always do better. So with this, I'm coming to the end of the class. And I believe, or I hope, hopefully, we've all learned one thing or the other during the course of the lesson. So you can drop your questions for me to answer, or for us to answer together. I won't be the one answering your questions. I might answer some and throw it to you for others to respond. Yes, I saw Marwa, that's funny. Yes, their parents have Marwa that has fire. So I'm expecting your questions. So Mr. Victor, I've come to the end of the class. You can take over from here.
Wow. Thank you so much, Ma. That was a value-packed session. Thank you so much for the nuggets that you shared. You will agree with me that Taiwo Alabi is not just someone who teach, but someone who practices what he's teaching. Because even from the presentation, from the PowerPoint, from the questions on the PowerPoint, you agree with me that he's really someone who knows how to engage with the audience. That's why we have to look at the chat box. During the session, most of the comments were in the chat box. Thank you so much, Mark. Sincerely appreciate this session. So please, if you know you enjoyed the session, please drop your emojis. Start dropping your emojis, your favorite emojis in the session, in the comment box. Thank you. Thank you, Aminat Lawa. Yes. Thank you, Abdulaziz Isaiah. Thank you so much for the strategy shared. All right, yeah. So questions and feedback. If you have questions whatsoever based on what she just talked about now, please, you can drop them in the chat box. And if you want to also talk, you can just unmute your mic. Yes, if you have a question, please drop them in the chat box. And if you want to talk, you can just raise up your hand so that I can allow you to unmute your mic. And if possible, if it's feedback, probably it can be a contribution. You just want to buttress a point also. You're also allowed to share your thoughts. waiting for your question. Okay, while we are waiting for our question, for your questions to come in, please, Ms. Taiwo, please, I want to ask this question. For those teaching subjects like, no disrespect to them, subjects like French, Yoruba, some subjects that, there's some subjects that when the teacher enters the class, the student, because it's a language subject, that interest is not there. For example, those Yoruba teachers, for example, when they enter the class, for the non-Yoruba speaking students there, that interest is not there. How can someone who teach such subjects, Yoruba, French, and no disrespect to such subject, please, if you have anyone there, I'm just saying, how can such teacher, how can they have an engaging class when the interest of the student is not even there at all?
All right. Thank you very much for the question. That's interesting. So for the French, you could incorporate grammar. Just give them a particular, let's say, a topic in English. Tell them to go and have grammar on it. Let them go and find out in French. You go and find out whether it is correct or not. Let them come and do it in front of the class. By the time they start speaking, so there's laughter in the air. It may not be correct, but at least you have engaged them in one way or the other. Then you can now come, modify their responses, correct them, tell them, okay, this particular thing in English is this. This one is this. So don't just come to the class and come and be speaking la franca, la nikon. So they'll just be making gestures because it's not their native language, it's not their mother tongue. They're not interested in the first place. They're only there to laugh. But you engage them. Let them laugh at themselves, not you, their teacher. Is that okay? Then for the Yoruba, you are teaching Ewi. How on earth will you be teaching Ewi and you just be writing Ewi on the board? Let them go and learn Ewi. Let them go and watch video. In fact, you have students in the classroom that they're already masters in Ewi. They can Kewi to any length. They can recite poem. That's what I mean by Ewi. So poem in Yoruba is Ewi. They can recite, they can sing it, they can chant it anyhow. Let them come and display their talents. Those children may not be that brilliant, or those ones that are very good at Ewi. They may be the timid type of children, very shy. I've seen students like that. But you tell them to come and do Ewi. In fact, you see that, so this girl can do this very beautiful thing. So this girl can be very active because you have spoken to the interest of that child. You have allowed that child into your classroom. So don't just come there, come and be, just be saying something abstractly that they cannot apply. Let them come and do the Ewi. Then you just modify their response. Case closed. You are done with your class. So look for creative ways to make them enjoy your class. So I hope I've been able to answer that question.
Oh, yes, thank you.
Then if you have other contributions, you can add.
All right, thank you very much. We have
somebody has, sorry about that, in the chat box. Please, all this practical involvement in class, should it be done before the class or within the 40 minutes of the class? Yes, I will answer that. So it should not be done before the class. That's your class. The practical is your class. You understand me? Let me give you a vivid example. I teach home economics. I wanted to discuss preparation of food. I did not come to the front of the class to come and be preparing food. So these children you are seeing, many of them are the ones doing the cooking at home. Let them come and do the cooking. I didn't even dictate to them, well, you come and do this thing. They're the ones that say, okay, this is what we want to prepare. Come and prepare it. Although we don't have a lab, it's an underserved school. But I maximize the use of their classroom. I turned it to a lab, a food lab or a cooking lab or economics lab. So they prepared the food in front of the class. And I was just there. All I was doing was making video. That was all I was doing. They were the ones teaching themselves. So try as much as possible to engage them. So the engagement is in the class, not before the class. It's your main class. Don't see it as that's an extra part of the class. It's not an extra part of the class. It's the main class. If it is drama, let them dramatize. For example, I'll be teaching a topic next week, just home economics, family house. I already told them this week. When you're coming next week, bring your pencil along. Those of you that are very good at drawing, come and showcase your talent. I already gingered them. Say, yes, we are bringing our pencil. So they will come to the class. They don't need to buy cardboard, just their notes. I only need their notes. Oh yeah, family house. They of course they will tell me what they think family house is, because they are all from different houses. They are from different families. They have what we call agbele. They have extended family house and they have the nuclear family house. They already have I don't need to start telling them what family house is. and taking their pencil, draw a house. You start seeing different kind of houses. Flat roof, the high roof, different kind of funny houses. So you start seeing them comparing their works. Let me see your house. Let me see your house. Hey, see the way it looks like art. See the way it looks like. Hey, have to see this one is fine. This one can draw. So by that, you're already engaging them. You're already having fun. So we're not moving out of the objective. And at the end of the day, I will tell them, okay, inside that house you drew, identify or indicate 5 rooms in the house. So I'm trying to look at functional areas in the house. That's the objective. We want to learn functional areas in the house. If I tell them functional area, many of them don't know what functional is in the first place. But I'll tell them, that your house, you have different rooms in the house. Okay, which rooms do you have in your house? Oh yeah, indicate them in that picture. I won't even ask them to say it. Indicate it in the picture. I want to see. You start seeing them trying to sketch. They don't even need to draw much. Sketch using, let's say, rectangular shape or square shape, and they will label toilet, bedroom, kitchen, like that. I already achieve what I want to achieve. I'll tell them I don't want perfection. Just do a sketch for me. Sketch and indicate. And I'll give them, it must be measurable. Indicate at least 5 rooms you can find in a house. So if I tell them indicate rooms you can find in a house, they can just be indicating as much as possible, or just fewer expectation. I'll give them a measurement, 5, at least 5. So you see that you achieve that. And then at the end of the day, the following week I might proceed. Okay, that house you drew, you already indicated that you have toilets. What do you do in the toilets? These things are the things you already know. So you don't need to start sweating in front of the class and start teaching them. In the house, we have 5 functional areas. The functional areas are toilet, bedroom, clinical, and bedroom. You usually bathe in the bedroom, take your bath in the bedroom. Inside the bedroom, you will see sponge, you will see water. You don't need to start sweating. It's funny to me, honestly. You don't need to start sweating. They're the ones thinking. So at the end of the day, okay, you just summarize. You've been able to learn that the family house is where the family lives. In the family house, you can find different areas, different rooms, like the bedroom, and in the bedroom, you normally have a bath, and so on. You have achieved your objective, and in a fun way. Those children are glad. Tell them, okay, like I did in the previous session, carton paper used to build house. In fact, I wish I included it in this slide, but there was no time for me to do that. So I could even send the picture to the group. Different kinds of beautiful houses. Atelier so fine. Atelier. We saw a lot. Small house, big house, mansion with their carton paper, and they were happy as we were bringing it to school. All the teachers were seeing them. Alabi leleyo. Alabi leleyo. They even brought it boldly and confidently to the assembly ground for their peers to see. Those ones that are not in their class. Come and see the house they built with carton. Creative as much as possible, and everything must be done inside your class. It's not a separate class. So I hope I answered that question.
All right, thank you very much, Ma. Even from your response, the mood and the tone, it's obvious that you surely know your honey. Thank you very much. Victoria Shegun, you raised your hand the other time. I don't know if you still want to ask your question or you have a contribution. Victoria Shegun. And if you have any question, you can unmute your mic or raise your hand. Oh, okay, no question. All right. Okay. Okay, Ma. There's a question in the chat box. Can the facilitator kindly drop our contact so that we can connect after the
Okay.
session? Yeah, definitely.
Okay, there's no problem. Even on the group, I'm on the group. You can just search my contact, my number there on the WhatsApp group. Thank
you, Aminat Lawa, for bringing that up. Yes, it's very important. It's not just you connecting with Taiwo Alabi alone. Please. Yeah, I'm pleading. Learn to connect. Connecting with people, networking with people is also key. So it's not just for you to be, just like I said earlier, in community and just be passive. Learn to connect with people. so that you can learn from them. Where your learning stop is when someone's learning starts from. So you never can tell. And when you don't connect with people, how are you going to know? Something that will take you to the next level may be on the lips of someone. But if you are not in that room, or if you don't have that kind of conversation, how are you going to know? That's the essence of connecting. Thank you very much for that. Any other question? Feedback? In the absence of that, Taiwo, Alabi, thank you so much for honoring our invitation. And also thank you so much for everything you've been doing that you did also behind the scene. We see your work, we see your effort, and we appreciate. Thank you so much. I don't know if you have your final words before you go.
Okay, I'll just mention that there's nothing that is not possible, except you feel probably you don't want to do it. But if you put your mind into it, you'll be able to achieve it. It's not something very difficult. Just be strategic. Just be local. Yes, let me use that word. Don't be too be local. Use something that local students will relate with. Engage your students as much as possible. You're not just preparing them for now, but preparing them for the future. And as much as possible, try to relieve yourself in the class. Don't stress yourself. Pardon me for that, Yoruba. So don't stress yourself up to the point that you develop hypertension or high blood pressure, because it's something that is very common among teachers. Many of them have high blood pressure because the stress is too much. So don't have to be stressed. So please take things easy. Engage your students more. They are still young. Their blood is still is it cold? I will call it now. It's still very fresh. So let them use their body. You have used your body. Saying, let them use their own body now. Let them think. Help them to think, so that they will not, they'll be self-reliant in future. So it will help them in the future. That's just what I have to say.
Thank you very much. So sorry. I think there's a question that just came in now. You can just answer that before you leave in the chat box. That's the final one. Should I read the question out or?
Okay, please do.
Good evening. Thank you for this session. It was a good insight. I would like to ask if the practical involvement of students also have the slow learners in mind, like students with learning difficulties.
Okay, yes. That's why I said you should plan your lesson. When you're planning your lesson, identify the fact that there are different learners in your classroom. So whatever pedagogical strategy or methodology you'll be using, let it be the one that takes care of all kinds of learners in your classrooms. Know what works for each of them. So try to carry them along. You can even pair them with those so-called good ones. Pair them. So by the time they are relating with those ones, gradually they will pick up. So please try as much as possible to tailor your strategies based on the specific need of each learner. So anyone lacking behind, you could create extra time for them personally, or you pair them with the good ones. Then make sure they report back to you. Have a feedback from them. You will not really have to do the extra work. Pair them with somebody that is better than them, kind of. So let them give you feedback, and you just be the facilitator everywhere in and out of the classroom. So I hope I answered that.
All right, thank you, Ma. I hope your question was answered. And I hope you're satisfied. Okay, thank you. All right, thank you very much, Ma. Once again, we appreciate your effort, we appreciate your contribution, and we appreciate the knowledge and the insight shared. May God continue to bless you abundantly.
Amen. And I'm most grateful for the opportunity.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Thank you.
All right. At this junction, I'm going to call out Mr. Abdulatif Adedeji. So yeah, probably has one of the things to share with us.
Sorry to cut in. So try to incorporate fun styles of clapping in your class too. So it's a way of gingering them. Like my class, I have different kind of clap, like clap, thunder clap. So you can create your own too. Different funny claps, HSC clap, house fly, just give it one funny name. So it's a way of gingering your class too. So sorry, I had to take extra time on that.
No problem, no problem. You're welcome. Thank you very much once again for that. So, Mr. Abdulatif. Okay, I think Mr. Abdulatif. Okay. Okay, I think Mr. Abdulatif is not. Oh, all right. At this junction, I would just like to add one or two things to what she said. One striking thing for me, out of all the things she mentioned, all the points are top notch. But one striking thing for me there is as regards limiting your talking time. That's just one word that I'm picking there. Dear teacher, limit your talking time. So you are going to class, for those that have resumed school probably this week, and for those that are still going to resume this coming week, please limit your talking time in class. And it starts from when you are preparing the class. You will know if you are going to talk more or talk less from the preparation. Because you are going as you are resuming this week, and for those that have resumed, limit your talking time. Make sure your students are engaged in class through your activities. And for those that are using PowerPoint presentation, you will also know from your slides. You can see the Taiwo Alabi's PowerPoint slide presentation. Most of the topics there, most of the points there, they are in form of questions. So you as the audience, or you as a student now, you want to participate in that kind of class. You want to be involved. So as you are going, make sure your PowerPoint, and if you are going to write on the board, make sure the things that you are going to write on the board are something that the students can relate to, are something that they can also get engaged with. And that's one of the ways in which you can have an engaging class. Just get numerous activities for them, different activities, just like she said. Then also make sure you have a good mastery of what you are teaching, because if that is not there, I don't even know why you are even in class. And like I usually say also, be the teacher you wish you had. Probably you didn't have a good teacher or good teachers while you were growing up, while you were in school. Because you are an educator now, it's a call for you to be that teacher you wish you had. And how can you do that? By imbibing all these qualities, all these skills, all these things that you have learned. I'm sure most of us, we have attended trainings, summits, conferences, seminars, and you are in one way or the other. Make sure all these things that you've learned during this break, and as that you are still learning, make sure you put them into practice. It is key. I'm not saying you should take everything at once. Just take one step at a time. What am I going to do? What am I not going to do? Write that down and put that into practice. And before you know it, you see yourself moving from one step to another step. And when you look back in your journey as a teacher, you will see that yes, there is growth. And growth is key as a teacher. Because if you are not growing, how will your students grow? Thank you so much for joining in, everybody. Appreciate your presence here. Please, we would like everyone to connect with. Please mute your mic. Mike, we would like everyone to connect with each other in the group, in the community. We would love to hear from you, share your thoughts also in the community, please. And also make sure you are active in any community you find yourself. And at this junction, we are going to call it an evening. Looking forward to connect with everyone individually in the group and in the community, and also do great things with what you've learned. Thank you. and have a good evening.